Morning, everybody. And it is a beautiful one, although it looks like it's also going to be a real hot day later. So, about a week and a half ago, Rick and I asked the congregation for suggestions about what we might discuss as discussion topics for live streams with the two of us just sitting there. And we did one on guilt. And somebody suggested actually to talk about grief, and this plugs into a topic that's a ministry that we had planned here at Epiphany. Lorraine Maslin and Rusty Hammond already months ago took it upon themselves. They know a lot about this ministry, and there's, let me get back in range here, a curriculum called Grief Share, and it's pretty darn good. And we even had plans to begin a grief group on April 2nd. And like every other plan the church had in April, it was canceled. So I want to check in with everybody, let everybody know that we're still going to do that. Lorraine and Rusty are still very interested in this ministry. And you can also, even now, call and let us know. We're compiling a list so we know roughly how many people to expect when this ministry should happen again. And when is that? Fullest, most honest answer is we don't know. There are going to be continual loosening of restrictions, and we know that the sanctuary here at Epiphany is big enough that we could have a dozen or 20 people easily socially distanced once Governor Sisolak and Bishop Wagner give us the green light to do so. So it could be June or July where we're starting the grief group. But this begs the question of, what if right now you are grieving? And it also, we need to be honest about the fact that a lot of people watching these live streams don't live in Las Vegas and aren't going to attend the grief group, the grief share group, when we do start it here. So what can we do right now? If there's one macro theme about grief, it's this. I think what will benefit you most is if you can consciously, at your own speed and pace, but know in your head that your grief is going to be best dealt with and lived to and through by moving from solitude to community. I don't personally believe you can fully heal grief without the assistance of earthly and heavenly forces. God and human, you need both. Now, let's get said right at the beginning, of all human emotions that I'm aware of, grief is the most diverse. You go to a wedding, everybody's kind of the same happy. If happiness is 3 or 4 dimensions of emotion, grief is 5 or 6. People grieve hugely differently. Sometimes the same person will grieve the death of one parent in a very different way than they grieve the death of their second parent, the same person. Having grieved the first time, learned from it. It's just a very inexact science. And so we, when we're feeling our grief, we're wise to remember that, to know that it doesn't need to act or look like any preset set. For instance, here's something you see, that grief has 5 stages. You know that shock, anger, denial, bargaining, depression. We've all heard that. Let me give you a quick tip on that. Skip bargaining if you can, because that's only going to make your depression. Rick, good to see you. We're doing the live stream right now.
Oh, okay.
And I've acknowledged that the grief share group's not starting tomorrow. It might be a while, but for those who are grieving now, what suggestions we might have for them who are feeling grief right now? Would you like to share?
Yeah, okay, sure.
Here's Rick O'Brien.
Good morning, brothers and sisters. Talk about off the top of our heads, right? Grief is it's kind of the price we pay for love in some ways, right?
Amen.
And so if you're grieving, first and foremost, recognize that one of the reasons you're grieving is because you have experienced love, and hold on to that, because there's beauty in that. Having said that, grief is not a simple process. It stinks, and it's hard. First of all, know that you're not going through it alone. God is there with you in your grief. Think about Job, right? God was with Job all through all the challenges. God has always been the one we can go to when we're in grief. Also know that your brothers and sisters in the church are there to love and to support you. Here's part of the challenge. A lot of times people don't know what to say, so they say to you, if you need anything, just let me know. Well, that's a wonderful gesture of love because they don't know what you need. So help them to help you and take them up on that. Call them and say, you know what I really need? I just need to talk. I need to have a cup of coffee. Safe, socially distanced, 10 feet apart in the backyard, but I just need to kind of talk to somebody. Take them up on that. As the world starts to reopen, go to lunch with them. Ask their prayers. Ask them how they cope. Grief is it's a process, and I hate to break it to you, but it never goes away. Having said that, though, don't fear because it lessens. You will carry it with you, but the burden of it lessens. So give yourself permission to let it lessen a little bit. Give yourself permission to laugh. Give yourself permission to smile. Grief is also a wonderful opportunity to reminisce and remember why you love that person and why you miss them so much. All right, I've shanghaied your live stream, Father, so I'll give you back to Father Chris.
Perfect. We're on the same page, especially that this cannot be done alone.
Amen.
And you mentioned others and God, so earth and heaven, but we need that community, which is kind of where I was. I'll just say one more thing. I seem to be getting away with this still, that if the community you need, if your grief says, you know what, I want to talk to Chris about this, I have the time, and you can text me, 310-483-1131, and I will listen to you, and we can talk about where you are in your grief. So that's an option too. Rick?
Me too, folks. That's what we're here for. We love you. We support you. We are called to help care for you. So if you don't feel like you have to go through this alone, we're trained in this, believe it or not. We actually do work more than 2 hours a week. So call us, text us. We're here to help too.
Great. Thanks, Rick. Thank you all. God bless.